All right, now let me try this again. I had uh, software issues. I'm back on the air. Um, we'll see how this works out. Um, because of the software issues, I'm having to prepare a couple of things that I want to show, and so you'll have to bear with me. Put that up there. Really hadn't planned on being on the air tonight, but of course, Mr. Holmeseth decided to pull a little stunt, which caused me to. Hi, Mark. Welcome. Um, Sarah, welcome. Um, yep, that's what he is. He's a cuckawumble. But Tim Holmeseth put up an announcement on his Telegram, and the Telegram was this message. And it was from somebody by the name of Lori Roberts. Now, we don't know if Lori Roberts is her real name or if she is a fake username. And it reads Timmy has every biker in the South 5 state area, especially Minnesota, ready to help him, support him, and secure him if needed. Matter of fact, I think we should have a bike run for him. I'll bring that to the club. Now, that in itself is interesting, but what is interesting is what shows up here. And he is saying that I've gotten word bikers in the quote 5 state area are supporting me in my fight to expose ongoing crimes against children. I hope this is true. It's an uphill battle for a 5'9", 160-pound news reporter going up against the weaponized federal government, but they aren't afraid of me. They will be afraid of my nation's bikers. Let those babies hear your engines all the way from their electrified cages, which, so he's accusing people of putting kids in electrified cages. Now, the problem here, well, I'm late too, so that's okay, Rebecca. I'm kind of doing this on the fly. But what we have here is a likelihood that Tim Holmeseth is enlisting the aid or accepting the aid of violent biker groups to act as vigilantes to go after those he is accusing of being pedophiles, child traffickers, child murderers, and so on. Oh, that's okay, Lori. I was running late and I almost canceled the live stream because for some reason my software wasn't loading properly, and at the last minute everything decided to work, so I rushed to come on the air. Now, getting back to the subject in hand, this is going to be a brief live stream here, but Tim Holmeseth is implying that he is going to use biker gangs to enforce his agenda against so-called child traffickers and so forth. And the fact that he has not made any comment whatsoever after this message from Lori Roberts appeared, other than he's happy to have the help of the 5 states bikers. Um, he has not indicated anything about not wanting any violence and not wanting anyone to break the law. Now, Timothy Charles Holmeseth is a fugitive from justice. He has a multitude of warrants out for his arrest, mostly for contempt of court. And now we have Mr. Holmseth uh, coming up with this rather convoluted message and not adding any disclaimer about not wanting any violence against those he accuses of this these crimes of pedophilia and so on and so forth. Now, let me do this. Get rid of our little sign here. Because since Mr. Holmseth has designated me as an agent of the federal government again, calling me a media agent for the FBI, I decided to put my official CIA hat and CIA shirt on so that he can gripe that I'm putting these things on again. You know, he seems to have a burr up his ass every time I put this stuff on. Uh, well, this time, Mark, he is a little bit to the east. He's about an hour from the um, courthouse. I believe he is in Greenville, Tennessee, and it's the James E. Muller or Kuehler or some such nonsense is the name of the courthouse. Um, and because he took a picture of himself in front of the courthouse. Uh, now, this is also interesting because he claims that he, is in danger of being killed. He's gone dark and all this. So what does he do? He comes out in public and he takes a selfie of himself in front of the courthouse, letting everybody know he's in the state of Tennessee. And unfortunately for him, there is someone who is following him around and is wherever he's at. She has an issue with Holmseth. She's had an issue with Holmseth for years. And she was a divorced woman with no children. She sold everything she had. And for the past year or so, she is following Mr. Holmseth around everywhere he goes. He is within 500 feet or a maximum of a mile from him at any given time. I just found this out. I had known that she was uh, keeping a close eye on him, but I didn't know that she had basically gone into full time surveillance mode. So, radio news, the woman in question, is basically following Timmy around like a little puppy. And she is also on virtually every Telegram and BitChute account, Rumble account, anywhere Holmseth is, radio is there. And radio has actually got at least a dozen usernames that I'm aware of, and she's doing the same thing she did before. She's playing both sides of the aisle, and Holmseth will never figure her out. He does not know what she looks like, um, but we exposed her, and I know what she looks like because I've got a image of her permanently on file, and I also know for certain because I verified this that she is basically tailing Mr. Holmseth and keeping track of everything he does. Now, radio news is an electrical engineer, and she also has played around with ham radio. So she knows how to plant tracking devices and do covert surveillance, and she's done it before. So, um, I would not be surprised if she does that eventually because um she is probably going to do that at some point. I don't know. We do not communicate, at least knowingly. I have a feeling I know at least two of her sock accounts who she is, but I avoid mentioning that I know who she is because this would likely screw up uh, everything. So I've decided to just sit back and let radio do her thing. I don't condone it. She's not doing it on my instructions or request. We remain bitter enemies, even though she seems to be leaving me alone. Um, but she is quite angry at Holmseth because she feels that he is part of the reason that she no longer has her um, website because it is she managed to find out apparently that he had something to do with her being exposed and her identity being leaked and so forth, and she's not happy about it. Um, so Timmy has an unseen enemy out there, and she is the one that Timmy needs to worry about. I have no idea what this woman is capable of, but I do know from her encounters in the past that she is capable of just about anything. So anybody over in the Holmeseth camp listening to this, uh, let uh, let him know that radio is on the prowl. Good evening, Levi. Now, what I did is uh, Timmy received a message that this cockamamie groupie of his claims that a whole bunch of bikers are going to support Tim Holmseth in helping him expose ongoing crimes against children. Now, everybody knows who Holmseth is targeting, including people that live in the state of Tennessee. And this, I feel, is an incitement to violence because all these people that Tim Holmseth is named now may be subject to uh, visits from these violent biker people. And so that's another thing we all have to deal with. Now, the thing of it is this may put Timmy in violation of his restraining order that was just taken out on him because this is a third party um, harassing uh, him or the victim of the crime that Holmeseth got charged with, and the reason for this original um, restraining order and so forth. I'm having a little bit of yeah, we are back to possibly inciting violence again. And this radio is not Astro. Um, radio is somebody entirely different. Way back in the days of Haley Cummings, radio had a forum and she would discuss the Haley Cummings case, among other things. And she went after Tim hard because Tim was attacking Kim Pacazio. And at that time, radio and Kim Pacazio were friends. Things changed over the years, but she is as obsessed with Timmy as much as Astro is obsessed with Levi. And she doesn't particularly like Astro either. But right now, her single focus, apparently, allegedly, is on Tim Homestead. And I have verified information that radio has sold her townhouse or gave it back to her son because she never really owned it, got herself a vehicle that she is capable of sleeping in. She's relatively short, so she could actually sleep in the back of a Volkswagen Beetle. But anyway, she is a rugged country girl who has done a lot of camping, so she knows how to live off the grid. And she is following Holmeseth wherever he goes and is keeping a very, very, very close eye on him. And she has been doing this for at least the last year and a half. And she is on different social media accounts that Tim hangs out at, including True Social, including uh, BitChute, Telegram, and wherever Tim Homestead hangs his hat. She is right there. She has several sock accounts pretending to be friends and enemies. And uh, that's that. And yeah, I'm going to put this up in display so it shows up in the recording because this is interesting. This was on my last broadcast that there has been an offer to drop the $500,000 judgment if Randy turns Timmy into the authorities and causes him to be arrested. Um, so that would save her a lot of time and effort, and she wouldn't have to go through the ordeal of appealing her judgment only to lose in court because she doesn't stand a chance in hell of winning that. But you know, we'll see. Now, speaking of Astro, and there is a certain individual that Astro doesn't like, and apparently Astro has content that would not please this particular individual. And I have heard that she is considering buying a billboard in this individual's current city and putting up a rather embarrassing image. Now, since Astro seems to think this is okay, I think it would be interesting if someone were to go out and buy a billboard and put the offer of a reward for the arrest of Timothy Charles Homestead, the same reward that's been circulating around for quite some time and has found its way into the lawsuit that Timothy Homestead filed and had dismissed, and I think might turn up again in this nonsensical lawsuit that he is filing in the Eastern District Court of Tennessee. But this basically is why I came on the air, is this thing with the bikers. Now, this is raising the stakes because a majority of these bikers that live in the Midwest that would be willing to come to Mr. Holmes's uh, assistance are likely those that are drug dealers, um, arms dealers violate the law and so forth. Because if they are willing to um, keep Holmes Seth under guard, so to speak, so that he cannot be arrested, then this is, um, you know, assisting a fugitive evade justice. Now, I am hoping that some of the bikers are tuning in here that might be potential assistance to Mr. Holmeseth, and especially those of you who are in the state of Minnesota. I would suggest that you folks take a ride during business hours to Thief River Falls, Minnesota, and go to the local police department, the county sheriff, and also go over to the clerk of the court and look up the various cases that Timothy Holmseth has been involved in that municipality and in the general area of that part of Minnesota. There are two cases that everyone over on Tim Holmseth's Telegram page have ignored. He was charged and convicted of grand theft, felony grand theft, which means whatever he stole was worth a lot of money. Mr. Holmseth was also charged and convicted of criminal trespassing. And I believe that is also at a federal or felony level, excuse me. Timothy has completely ignored his dealings in Thief River Falls. He has not explained what was involved with the trespass. It has not discussed what is involved with the theft. What on earth is the trespass? What on earth did he steal? What happened in Thief River Falls, Minnesota that is so concerning that Tim Holmseth completely ignores it, and none of his people over on his support channels will discuss these two cases. Now, I know what these charges entail. I checked on it. But there are reasons that I'm withholding this information. And if people knew why this information is being withheld, they would be shocked. And so you will probably never hear Tim Holmseth discuss either of these charges. I've challenged him for years to discuss these charges, explain them away, and he completely ignores it. He won't acknowledge the charges. He ignores the charges. He completely ignores anything that happened in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, other than what appeared in his book. And that brings up another interesting story I was told. And that is, there is a group over in the private chats that claims that radio news is Levi Page, and that when I went to the Atlanta airport and picked up the copy of the book through a rather cloak and dagger convoluted method, that was actually Levi Page that left the book. And no, it was not. It was clearly radio, because as anyone who would bother to go and check the broadcast would understand, is that I had a friend of mine going ahead of me and situate himself so that when I went into that area of the airport and retrieved the book, that he would see who came and got the envelope that I left there. And it was radio. He described her, and it was exactly the same as the image that we have of her. And so I'll probably catch hell from radio for that because that's the last thing she wanted out there, but that's what happened. Now, what these people don't realize in the private chat, number one, that radio's probably in there, and number two, I actually have two copies of that book because a few years ago, when Tim Holmseth claimed that the book cannot be found, I actually found one copy of it being sold through an old bookstore, and I paid $20 for it. So I have two copies of the book, and he is purported to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 copies of that book in his car that he hands out every once in a while. So there are copies of the book out there. He's not supposed to be distributing them, but he is anyway. And so this baloney about not being able to get his story out there is false because virtually everything he posts on the internet comes from that book. Even the photographs come from that book. So he is not being silenced. His story is getting out there, even if it is slander and defamation. But this is how Holmseth is. And as a side note, I really wish if people from Telegram are going to steal my content and put it over on their channel, that they provide a link to this channel so people can follow in total what is being said here and not be subjected to uh, edited content that they cannot verify. For some reason, uh, when these comments appear, they are too scared to put up the link to this page. Uh, Now, it is alleged that Tim Holmseth engages in plagiarism, and the way he handles my material over on BitChute and Telegram is close to that. I've had people who are experts in the field say this is very, very close to plagiarism. At the very least, it's a copyright violation. But, you know, I don't hide. But if you're going to steal my material, at least put the link up to where it came from. That's what a true investigative reporter is supposed to do. If I use something a home says, an image or something, I indicate where it's from. Most of the time, I use his mugshots from his prior arrests when I do these things because that's not a copyright violation. It's public information. He's been arrested and jailed, so there are mugshots of him out there. There's several of them, as a matter of fact. Um, and yeah, now I would also suggest that these bikers look up the court case on Tim Holmseth that was filed by the mother of his son. They would read some interesting things there, such as it is alleged that his daughter, one of his daughters, he has, this is not his oldest daughter, this is the next oldest sibling or offspring, but this daughter is alleged to have forced the child to wear female panties, and it was supposedly this woman, his daughter, that dressed the child up in girls' clothing. And the picture that is out there that was found on a zip, on a, I'm not sure if it was a drive or a flash card that was left on the floor of his filthy apartment. But I've also been told that there is that and even more photographs that were put on a less than desirable website where images of children show up. And I'm not going to tell where those images are. Um, it's not clear if this would be considered child pornography because he's fully clothed, and so are most of the children in these various websites. It's a website where people take male children and dress them up as girls. It seems to be a thing, and it's the first I've ever heard of it, is when this thing about Timmy's picture came out, and the revelation that there are other places that this photograph wound up, and that there are other photographs of the same child on these sites as well. Now, to finish up, this image of this threat is now going to be put in to the folders of all those of us who have been named as suspects in these various um, okay, let me take this down. These various suspects in his lawsuit so that the judges in these lawsuits that hear these things will understand what Holmseth is stating as his intention and what he is supporting, so that the judge in any of these future lawsuits will understand that Tim Holmseth is engaging in witness tampering and badgering of a witness, um, and that it is actions like this and other actions that he's taken part in that will result in motions to have these lawsuits dismissed with prejudice. And so, you bikers out there, take a trip down to East Grand Forks and pay law enforcement officials a visit, and also go to Thief River Falls and pay law enforcement a visit, and look up all the lawsuits that Mr. Holmseth is involved in. Uh, Nomer what? Elaborate. I know you're a Timmy groupie, but kind Nomer what? Have you looked into the Thief River Falls criminal charges? What? You came in here, so speak your piece, or are you just gonna talk in riddles? But yeah, it's there, folks. I do not, unlike Tim Holseth, I do not demand that people believe everything I say. I put things up here and leave it to you folks to decide for you to determine for yourself if you're going to believe me, if you're going to believe Tim, or you're not going to believe either one of us. Oh, which comment? There's a lot of them. But the fact of the matter is the truth is out there if people want to see it. Now, Tim Holmseth claims that I have killed or was involved in the killing of two teenagers in Delphi, Indiana. Tim Holmseth has claimed that I had something to do with the disappearance of Haley Cummings. Tim Holmseth has claimed that I had something to do with the fate of Kaylee Anthony and Trenton Duckett. He's put up material he claims is me talking about unsavory actions towards children. He's put up that I was allegedly in the finders. He put up material that claims that I am Whitey Bulger, and this is because I look like Whitey Bulger, according to him. Now, this is all stuff that will be brought into court in the defense. And Tim Holmseth, if he ever shows up in court, will be cross examined on because Mr. Holmseth is going to have to explain all these accusations that he is making them about people. He is going to have uh respected again. I do not. That is a Photoshop. You know it's a Photoshop. I have told the origin of that image. And if you want, I will give you the name of the individual that created that image and you can go talk to her. I do not appreciate people coming in here and lying about this and everything about me. And the name of the person is Holly Briley, Briley. She lives in the state of Ohio and she has accounts and she will be glad to explain to you all about that image. She is the one that created the image. The photograph of the real woman is out there, and anyone that knows anything about image tampering will clearly see that that is a Photoshop. But you people do not do fact checking. You just take Timmy's word for it, because that's where this comes from, that this stuff is true, and just waltz on with it. And the thing of it is, respected, number one, this board is monitored by law enforcement, and it has been for quite some time. So your name is now in the archives of a law enforcement agency. And also, if it comes up in court, you will be called as a witness for the defense because Tim Holmseth has convinced you that I was wearing a woman's bra. And so I hope you feel like going to court someday because your electric footprint is easily discoverable. People using VPNs doesn't work. It's easy to track people. So respect it again, 72. At some point in the future, expect the summons to appear in court because law enforcement will know who you are. The defense counsel for the defendants in Timmy's lawsuits will know who you are. You cannot hide. VPNs do not work. You will be found and you will be brought into court as a witness for the defense and as a witness against Tim Holmseth, like this other idiot will be brought into court because of her part in all of this. So, Timmy wanted to file these lawsuits, so now Timmy can live with the consequences when the defense goes into court and rings him a new asshole, because that's what's going to happen. Because Tim Holmseth is the one that's doing the defaming and the slandering and the stalking and harassing here, not us. We are simply defending ourselves against these lies that Mr. Holmseth has created. So that is all I have to say tonight. There really is nothing else going on. Uh, there is, for you bikers that may tune into this now or in the future, a $5,000 reward for his arrest. He doesn't have to be convicted. Well, yeah, it's $10,000 now, but all you have to do is get Timmy arrested. Doesn't matter if somebody bails him out or what have you. All he needs to be is arrested, period. And you can get the reward. It's published on the internet. They had whoever set this thing up has to give it. If they don't, they can be sued. And it's easy enough to figure out who it is. So there's a quick $10,000 out there. You can buy a lot of chrome and accessories for your motorcycles and, maybe soup it up a little bit. So you biker guys, if you need money to play around with your motorcycle and make it a more badass motorcycle than it is, you know, there you go. And, $10,000 buys a lot of gasoline. The average Harley gets about 50 to 60 miles to a gallon. And so you can do a lot of cruising, drink a lot of beer, buy yourself some drugs, all that shit. Turn this moron in and make yourself some bucks. Legal money, tax free, anonymous. All you have to do is get Timmy arrested. Not convicted, not tried, arrested. All you got to do. The court will do the rest. Now, that is it for tonight. This is an unscheduled live stream, but Timmy decided to up the stakes. And so, it is what it is. And Timmy has now learned that radio news is doing the radio thing. And, I don't know where she is. And whoever Faye is, you have gotten yourself into a lot of legal difficulty, whether you realize it or not. You may think that your stunt that you pulled um, has gone undetected, but it has not. Radio is in your area there. Radio is aware of what you're doing, as is others. And this information is being passed on to the. Oh, this is interesting. But anyway, Faye, watch your back. Okay, why the new look? Shaved and no glasses. Would Whitey be the reason? Unlike Timothy Charles Holmeseth, I do shave on occasion. You know, and why no glasses? Because I forgot them. They're in the car. I am capable of reading stuff on my chat and elsewhere without the glasses. There's only certain places where I need them. Driving is one of them. Now, I don't know why this is significant. Why does Mert fly? Well, that's something that people are going to have to figure out because that is something that I'm keeping to myself. There has been, well, you haven't been around very much, and I'm kind of curious why this is such a big deal. Why, what the big deal is. Now, there is a picture of me on Timmy's thing, shade with no glasses. I'm wearing a different hat. I'm not on the air, but I have no glasses on. I'm clean shaven because I was on my way to a business meeting. And, you know, you've been around since 2017. Well, that's really not that personal because this woman has proven that she's an idiot. And let me do something here. See if I can find it. Because apparently you do not read Tim Holmes's blog. This might take a while. See, let's go down, go down, go down. Because, Timothy Charles Homeseth has declared that I am either both Whitey Bulger and that I look like Whitey Bulger. Now, the look like Whitey Bulger is really kind of dumb, but he and a couple of his groupies have claimed that I am in fact Whitey Bulger, and this is defamation. It is also putting my safety and security at risk. Now, okay, yes. Okay, you know, well, yeah, it can be proven with a DNA test. I would be more than willing to give a DNA test. I don't know where they're going to get a sample of Whitey Bulger's DNA, but I'm sure they have it since he was a federal prisoner. So, you know, I challenge anyone, if they want to pay for a DNA test, I'll take one. I'll take it in front of a witness. If you got to burr up your ass about whether or not I'm Whitey Bulger, I'll take a polygraph test. There's a more accurate thing called a voice stress test. I'll take that. FBI certified examiner. All right, here we are. Now, if you note, yes, I have my glasses on because the part where I have my glasses off, you can't see because the image down in the bottom where the news reporter is, I was not wearing my glasses, but I have my glasses on. Now, look at Mr. Bulger here, all wrinkly. He's wearing glasses. The image down of the news reporter, he's wearing glasses. So, if you're going to declare that I'm Whitey Bulger, then you need an image of Whitey Bulger with his glasses on. There you are. RES is here because she has nothing better to do. She is proving just how stupid and ignorant Tim Holmes's people are. Now, I challenged the woman that was using Bulger's name to a DNA test, and she never went for it. So, but this is what I have to go through day in and day out. Are people coming up with this lunacy? You have a lunatic like this respect person come in here and make a complete ass out of herself because she believes this garbage. She believes whatever Holmeseth tells her. And there's no telling these people to check things out. The Whitey thing is so stupid. Faye is someone over on one of the private chats that apparently Astro has teamed up with, and Faye is getting herself in a lot of legal hot water by posting uh, semi pornographic images on a message board. And her actions are being observed by law enforcement and by other people that are in that chat room. And all of it is being archived. So even if they delete it, there is a record of it. And um, we know who Astro is. We have her name, address, everything about her. So, um, with the statements that get archived that accuse Astro of being behind this particular operation, Astro is herself guilty of menacing by stalking. And she may find herself in hot water soon because the person she is attacking is a party to the lawsuit that Tim Homseth is filing, and this in itself is harassing and tampering with a witness in a legal action, a federal legal action. So, respected, chew on those apples. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Please like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification because I'm sure Tim Homseth is going to pull another stunt or Astro or somebody else, and we're going to be back on here again discussing this crazy little cockwamby. So until then, have a good one. And how, um, okay, how am I a stalker? I've got people calling me Whitey Bulger, you're in here stalking this chat. Mr. Holmseth, I've already laid out everything Mr. Holmseth says about me and others. Timothy Holmseth has a menacing by stalking restraining order against him. He's been charged criminally with menacing by stalker. Not me. So, you know, be sure to, to give your quota to Timmy now. He needs all that money, so, he's got it. Now he's got to pay for room and board from all these bikers. So, go pay homage to your little god. And the rest of you, have a good one, and we'll see you again sometime. Good night.